Yeah, hi, just to introduce myself. So my name is Emma Barany, and I'm a senior animation major here at MICA. I'm really excited that y'all at SAFI here were able to put together this event. Today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about what I do and mainly about my internship with NASA that I recently had this summer. So I will share a little presentation. Okay, to begin here, the name of the internship that I was in this summer was called the Guerrilla Science via Astro Animation Exhibition. So I'll get into a bit more of the specifics later, but it was a program that was going to aim to bring up a pop-up exhibition to public spaces, and it would have used animations about science to make things that are going on at NASA seem like fun and non-intimidating to the public, and really just strive to open a space to people of all learning levels, to things that can seem, intimidating in a classroom. So a little bit about me. I've already mentioned that I'm an animation major here at MICA. I'm also trying to get a graphic design minor here, motion graphics, so on and so forth. But aside from the NASA internship this summer, I've had the opportunity to be in a few film festivals, including Sweaty Eyeballs, recently, just a few weeks ago here. I've been the recipient of an honorable mention for the WIA scholarship last year, which I can also talk a little bit about if people would like at the end. I've been a teaching assistant for the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design at their pre-college program. And then I've also had the chance to be a muralist and work in northern Wisconsin and do sort of a lot of mixed media things here. So very exciting opportunities. So talking about NASA and talking about internships in general, I feel that I start with professional development. So it's a very big sort of concept, and it can mean a lot of different things. So for me, like getting my professional development things together were what allowed me to be able to get an internship. So for me, again, this process started at the MICA Career Fair. It'll be happening next semester, and I believe some emails have been starting to go out, but they bring in tons of employers, tons of different companies, and they give you the opportunity to talk to these people, look over your portfolios. And so it really becomes vital that you start to develop some of these materials and skills. So for me, that was getting a resume together, the demo reel, and a cover letter for whatever companies that I was planning to talk to, NASA being one of them here. But things that go along with it are some of the interpersonal skills. So like going over interview questions, being able to talk about yourself a little bit, knowing what you're about, where your skills lie. Again, doing that research on specific companies, and then just going out there and doing that networking, because you never know who you meet and what opportunities they'd be able to give you, or who they might know. So all of these things are covered by Erin in the Professional Development for Animators course, which is a requirement, so people who are animators will be having to take it. But this is an excellent space to develop these skills. However, if you're not a junior, I highly recommend that you start doing it anyway, because while it may be harder to get an internship at that time, because people generally look at juniors and seniors just in terms of staying in touch. It's easier for them to once they enter the workforce, but it's never too early to start looking for those opportunities and getting as much experience under your belt as possible. So going on from here, my experience with my NASA internship was that I went to the career fair, and I was able to get in touch with some animators there who were doing interviews and speaking a little bit about some of the animation opportunities at NASA. And they were able to send me to the NASA internship site, which I will be adding the link here afterward. They've had a little bit of a facelift for their website. Oh my goodness. But basically, they have a lot of different opportunities where you can type in keywords for things that you would want to do. So for example, animation I've done here, and it brings up a lot of different opportunities at various locations. So where I was looking was the Maryland Goddard Space Flight Center, because it's right here in Baltimore. It's like a hop, skip, and a jump away. But sometimes there are virtual opportunities, and I was able to personally have one of those virtual opportunities. So it saved a commute, but I wasn't able to visit in person. So as we're still in the throes of a pandemic here, and we might still be for some time, places might remain closed. And it's good to do that research to see where the experience would lie for what you're looking for specifically. So getting into a little bit of my specific project, I spoke a little bit about the general overview, how it was supposed to be a exhibition that would pop up and show artwork alongside like more scientific documents or models. This was done with Robin Corbett and Laurence Arcadius, and with a lot of help from Jay Friedlander. The first two here you may know help run the astroanimation course here at MICA, which is where I really began to like speak more with them and get a feel for talking to people at NASA and like working with scientists just in general. So if you're interested in a NASA path or like working with people who are more like detail oriented in that sense, or if you're interested in like merging two like different worlds or industries, I feel like that is personally an excellent course to look at because it gives you a lot of those skills, even just for like talking and communicating with people in different fields. So in my role here, I had a lot of different jobs to do and roles to play. First of all was being sort of the tech person. I was able to help get the astroanimation website updated for that year because potentially there could have been some of these animations showing at the exhibition. The exhibition is still in process. It hasn't been able to happen physically yet, but it's a more long-term project that Jay and Laurence are still working on, which there may be opportunities to work with it or about it in the future. So again, one of these first duties here was making sure everything was updated and ready to go. And that takes into account all of the different events that were going on, where the work was being shown, where it's housed, etc. And then a big part of the internship was networking. And I know this is another one of those nebulous terms where like professional development here, it can mean a lot of different things to different people. But basically, what I did was I went in and I sat in at a lot of different meetings. And it was a lot easier for me because, again, it was virtual. But I got to hear what different scientists were doing, what people might be interested in, what people needed help with certain events, because artists, I feel like, are a little bit of a hot commodity at NASA because it's always such a wonderful experience to be able to like visually show your work or like the research that you're doing. So specifically, some of the people I had contact with were Sarah Mitchell and Sarah Eierman from the After School universe. They do a lot of work with similar interests in making science non-intimidating to people in school, especially. So it's like an after-school program, but they focus on doing like interactive activities to show different scientific models, which is really cool. Another person of great impact was Andrea Jones. She works in planetary and events. She kind of wears a lot of different hats at NASA. She also is in contact with the people working on the on the astro animation courses, and she makes sure that the work can be shown. She helps coordinate who can come in and help work with students. So like talking to people who also network as part of their job was an eye-opening experience there. Another was Peter Soy from the James Webb Space Telescope team. They have a lot of things going on right now for the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope. That's going to be in early December here. And they actually have something online going on where if you make a little bit of art and you post it with the, I believe it's the hashtag unfold the universe hashtag there, you may be able to have your art featured on NASA's website. So they've got fun, like not seasonal, but like different pertinent activities going on always, different pushes with the public and artists. And then I was able to talk with all of the other interns as well, who were like mainly there for science reasons. However, there were a few animators, specifically working more with 3D, but there are different levels at NASA, like different codes, like 600, 500, each with different jobs. And then CREST 2 helps like supplement the workforce or the interns for NASA, because it's a government sort of run thing, so they can have only a specific amount of people technically employed with them. So it's like a contracting company that brings people along to work with them. So that's technically who I was with, was CREST 2. But yeah, some of my personal work that I did, other than just like the talking, the networking, the updating certain things, was I was able to work with Robin in making a few diagrams or like models here, like animated models about what's called superorbital variation, which basically stars react in a certain way to particles being thrown off in like a binary system, like obese stars. It's a bit above some of my understanding, but being able to make a lot of like variations on the same principle was helpful in this sense. And they were able to eventually be shown at a conference to help, talk about some of the points that were being made and explained, which is one role that animators could play at NASA there. But my longer term project was actually making an animation about spaghettification, or what happens to a person if they were to be sucked into a black hole. So this was a longer process here, but I was required to talk to a lot of people to get the science in place, and to get a lot of different input for the research. So all of those people that I kind of talked with before about like the networking and so on and so forth, they were able to give me a lot of good examples of how to make the information more inviting, and how at the end it could lead into a like interactive activity for when the exhibition would be able to take place. So this film, as well as like the other things that I did for NASA, are available on my personal website, which is emmabarany.com. Not to totally plug my stuff here, but there's the work of spaghettification, and then the superorbital variation sort of processes there, as well as the work that I did for the astro animation course, which was sort of like the lead in to all of these wonderful things being able to happen. Because sometimes it's who you know, even though your work should like stand for itself and everything. Again, making those connections sometimes can really make or break you getting that experience. So even when the internship was going on, and eventually it ended, as all things must do, but that's not the end of it. there's a lot of follow-up that you can actually do to help yourself with your professional practice and to make sure that you can get opportunities like this in the future. So basically, my big advice is to stay in contact. Stay in contact with these people that you've been talking with, building relationships with. They know you pretty well. It's in a professional setting. The least you can do is always like send them a little like update, like seasonally about like, oh, here's my demo reel. Here's what I'm doing now. Like, I hope you're doing well. Like, what are you working on? Or at the very end, you could send out thank yous like, oh, thank you for this experience. I learned this, this, and this. It was very helpful. And once that's done, you can start updating your resume and your portfolio reel and your like, your portfolio and demo reel, and so on and so forth. Uh, yeah, that's one part of it. But yeah, some internships can go for school credit, which is something that should have been part of your research at the very beginning, but getting in touch with school about that after the experience is always good as well. And then from there on, researching more opportunities, figuring out if you like the one that you just had, if you want something similar, or in the opposite case, if you really weren't digging what you were doing, you now know what to avoid or maybe what could have made that experience better. So there's a lot of things to like consider here and like stay vigilant about even after you're like done with that specific amount of work.